is Jen, and I have a podcast called Beautifully You Podcast. And the reason why I do these podcasts is because I think that life is just a beautiful journey of growth and lessons. And as we grow, as we learn, we should teach other people because, you know, repetition is key. And when you teach, you can retain. So as much as I do it for you guys, I do it for me too. So effective communication is something super, super important to me. I'm big on communication, period. And so I've done a podcast on this, but I wanted to touch on it again because I just feel like it's that important and you can never get too many reminders, right? So let's talk about effective communication then. First of all, what is effective communication? For me, I think that effective communication is being able to convey a message or a vision in a clear and concise way, you know, depending on who it is, depending on who your audience is and things like that. So it's being able to communicate in an intended way so that it's understood by the audience, right? That you're talking to. So why do we want to be effective communicators? This list can go on and on and on. It builds relationships. It builds trust. It fosters confidence. Because I think that confidence is something that you have to have prior to being an effective communicator. Because I think in order to be an effective communicator, you have to be confident in what you're saying too. Because there goes that trusting again. If you're not confident in what you're saying, then how is someone else going to be confident in trusting you or letting you lead them, right? So just being confident, building trust, building teamwork, things like that, right? It helps to resolve conflict. It helps to prevent misunderstandings, because if you're able to speak to someone and convey a clear and concise message, then it leaves little room for misunderstanding. And then if there is effective communication, there's usually no judgment and people feel comfortable being able to talk to you about any type of misunderstanding there might be, right? So be an effective communicator. I actually wanted to share something because I think this is a great example. So this week we went into the office for a meeting, and in the meeting we did an activity and it was on effective communication. So I was pretty excited about that. But we separated into groups of 20. There was 5 people in each group and there was 20 groups. And each group had a leader. The leader had a photo. The leader's job was to effectively communicate what that photo was to the rest of the group in such a way that they were able to draw out that same picture, right? So at the end of the activity, everybody showed their pictures, right? What they drew and things like that. And some people did not even come close to what was in the picture. And there was only one group out of 20 that was pretty spot on with the picture. So everybody already was just like, oh, okay, well, that leader is the effective communicator right there. And I think that was so great for me because it really showed the example of how the speaker conveys a message from in your mind and is able to get other people to see the same thing. And I was like, wow, that activity was powerful. So that's just an example of what effective communication does. It's you're able to lead people and in the direction that you want to go, or with the vision that you see. It's kind of like what they say, or what it says in the Bible, right? Write the vision, make it plain. And when it's plain, people can follow it, right? So how do you become an effective communicator? Well, I think active listening is probably one of the most important things in effective communication. So what does being an active listener mean? Because we hear it and we're just like, okay, well, you got to listen. Well, being an active listener takes more than just listening, right? It's giving your full undivided attention. So when you're talking to somebody or a group of people, you're in an area or somewhere that you're able to give your undivided attention. It's quiet. You're looking at them. You don't have your phone. You're not on your laptop, like things like that, right? They have your undivided attention. Active listening also includes your body language, right? You have to be able to look at what the speaker is conveying with their body language. Are they guarded? Are they, not really listening? Are they fidgety? Like, what's going on with the body? Is there eye contact going on? Are they open to receive? Like, you got to be able to read the body language in order to be able to be an effective communicator. But not only read, but also what you're conveying. You have to be aware of that. Like, when you're talking and you're in front of a group of people, if you're like arms crossed and, head down, it's like, okay, well, people aren't going to think that you're really that confident or that open to giving whatever information that you're giving. So you've got to be able to be aware of your body language and the body language that the listener is giving as well. Active listening also includes listening and not interrupting. I had to work on this one because, and to be honest with you, I'm probably still working on it sometimes, but when someone is talking, most times we're hearing things and then in our brain, we're already trying to respond to it rather than listening to what the person is saying. So don't interrupt. Don't be in such a rush to give your opinion or your thought or your experience. Just listen to what the person is saying. So being an active listener includes not interrupting, right? If you have to, take a notepad so that you can write down your notes. There's a few people that when we would talk, I would take a notebook because there's some things that I want to say while you're talking, but I don't want to interrupt. So rather than me interrupting you, I'm going to write down what I want to say or what jumped out at me so that when you're done talking, I can respond, right? So active listening also includes paraphrasing. Paraphrasing, I think, it prevents the misunderstanding part, right? Because if someone's telling you something and you're like, okay, this is what I heard from what you just said. It could be two completely different things, right? Because we know men and women communicate differently. Men kind of just, they take it for what you say, but women, they kind of try to read in between the lines, even if there is no in between the lines. So paraphrase, hey, this is what I heard. Is this correct? Is this what you're trying to say to me? Okay, cool. Let me respond to that, right? Active listening also includes asking questions. Like if you paraphrase something and that's not what the person meant, okay, well, what did you mean by this? Because when you said this is what I took from it, right? So be confident enough to ask questions. Don't walk away from a conversation where you're not understanding something, right? If you want to be an effective communicator, you don't want misunderstandings. Don't be judgmental. Like, be humble. Be humble when you're talking to people, and don't be judgmental, because when you don't have that humility about you, it's harder for people to be honest with you because people are fearful of being judged. People aren't going to open up to you the way that you want them to if they feel like you're going to judge them. If they feel like you think that you're better than people. That's where the humility comes in, releasing ego, things like that. Don't be so quick to judge because you don't know people's situation. You don't know their thought process. You don't know what they're going through at the moment. So don't be so quick to judge because we're all human and sometimes we fall short. A lot of times we fall short. And when we trust somebody and we're open enough to talk to them about something, don't take that for granted because they probably don't do that with everybody because not everybody is an effective communicator. And a lot of people judge people, whether they do it intentionally or not. It's just what we do as humans. We judge people, right? And respond appropriately, right? Respond appropriately. Just keep that in mind and sit on that a little bit, because the way that you respond kind of shows the way that the conversation is going to be navigated. Like, okay, is this going to be an open conversation, or is this going to be an open shut conversation because this person's not even really listening, or they're not even getting what I'm trying to say. So because you're not even getting what I'm trying to say, I'm not even going to keep talking because I don't like to waste my time, right? So respond appropriately. Now that we know what an active listener is, continuing on with effective communication. Know your tone. Know your tone when you're speaking to someone. Be aware of it. Use an appropriate tone, because even if you're passionate, people might take that the wrong way, and they'll be like, oh, well, you're mad at me, or oh, you're yelling at me, or oh, I shut down when I feel like I'm being attacked. So you have to be aware of your tone when you're talking to people. You have to be aware of who the receiver is on the listening end, because when you're aware of who the receiver is, you can be more in tune with how that person receives information. For example, I was watching a podcast this week, right? And there was this therapist who was counseling this married couple, and she's just like, well, he doesn't ever do anything with me. I want him to spend time with me, right? So he's like, well, what can he do to spend time with you? And she's like, well, he can just, watch TV with me or something, right? And so the week goes, they watch TV together. The guy comes and he's just all excited because he's like, yeah, we did this. And I watched TV with her. And he was all happy, right? Because he thought that he made her happy. But then you get to the woman and she's just like, nothing changed. Wait a minute. We just got a whole different response from your husband, where he said that you guys watched TV together. This is what you wanted. So this is where you have to be in tune with the receiver on how they receive things, even the speaker sometimes, because in relationships, you got to be in tune with the person that you're with so that you can know what they want. Not necessarily saying that you got to be a mind reader, but you're essentially knowing what they're trying to convey to you, right? So when she said, I want him to watch TV with me, what she meant was, I want him to spend time with me. I want him to cuddle with me. I want him to show me affection. Because when they were watching TV together, he was like on the whole other end of the sofa and she was on the other side, and they were just, watching TV like whatever. But that's not really what she wanted. What she wanted was quality time. What she wanted was affection. And that's what she should have conveyed, because like I said, men kind of take things at surface level, and women, we try to read between the lines, even sometimes when there isn't any. So be aware of who your receiver is. Be in tune with the receiver of the information. That way that you can speak to them in a language that they understand, and you prevent misunderstandings that way, right? So be clear, use direct language, be in tune with who the receiver is, right? And when you're talking to somebody, have empathy. And when you have empathy, that helps too, being non-judgmental, because we all have flaws. We've all been through things. We've all hit, well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people have hit rock bottom. A lot of people have been down and out. And when people really open up to you about that stuff, you have to show a little bit of empathy. It's not really being sympathetic, but empathizing for what they're going through or their situation. It just, that whole thing, circling back to being non-judgmental. You've got to be able to feel what people are saying and don't be judgmental, right? In effective communication, you have to give feedback to the speaker or the listener. Like, even if you've sat here and you've talked to somebody and they haven't said anything, right? Ask the question like, yo, what did you get from everything that I just said? Because I want to make sure that when we leave this table, when we leave this conversation, that we're leaving on the same level. Like, we're leaving with the same understanding of what was just said. That way, moving forward, there is no confusion. There's no room for misunderstanding. So be aware, give feedback. Be aware of the nonverbal cues. Be aware the nonverbal cues. It could be your eye contact. It can be, you know, are you fidgeting, tapping pens? Are you tapping your hand? Are you nervous? Like, pay attention to the nonverbal cues, because that will also help you navigate a conversation effectively too. So one more thing that I wanted to say about this is expand your vocabulary. Being an effective communicator, you've got to be able to be clear and concise with what you're trying to say, with the message that you're trying to convey, right? It's like if you're talking to a bunch of third graders and you're speaking really intellectually, are you going to keep the attention of those third graders? Are you really going to captivate their attention? So probably not. Not if you're using a bunch of language that they don't understand. But if you're speaking in a way that captures their attention. This kind of goes back to the point where I said, you know, be aware of who your audience is. You've got to be able to convey yourself in such a way that they understand it, but that's also clear. So if you're talking to a bunch of third graders, you want to be able to be clear about what you're saying, the message that you're trying to convey, right? But you also want to be clear in a way that you're not using language that they don't understand. You got to be able to have a wide variety of vocabulary to use when you're communicating effectively, right? So I think that overall, being an effective communicator not only helps your quality of life, but the people that you're talking to as well, because they're able to get what they need from you. And you're able to get what you need from them when you convey a clear message. And even if you can't get what you need from them, you know that they know what you need from them, right? So I hope that this little message helps somebody. I think, like I said, effective communication can really solve a lot of things. It can clear up misunderstandings. It can prevent misunderstandings. It can prevent conflict. It can solve conflict. It builds trust. You guys, it builds trust. And I think that that's probably one of the most important things, because if people don't trust you, they won't follow you. And if you can't convey a clear picture of where you're going, or where the company is going, where the business is going, where the relationship is going, whatever it is, people will not follow you. And so you've got to really work on being an effective communicator. Build the trust, build the relationships, build the bonds, avoid the mishaps, avoid the things that can be avoided. And if you do get into misunderstandings or things like that, find a way to get together to have a conversation, an effective conversation, not something where it's a yelling match where nothing's being resolved, but people who genuinely want to resolve whatever the issue is, whatever the problem is, and effectively communicate and be open to that. Because if you're not, people could feel that too. Like the body language, it speaks volumes. If you get into a room and somebody's just like, I just don't even want to be here. Like, what do you want? You're bugging me. You're bothering me. That whole conversation might as well just be left at the door, because you're not going to get anywhere with somebody who's shut down. So be an effective communicator. It's going to save a lot of relationships, a lot of businesses, a lot of partnerships. All right. So I hope that you guys got some value from what I shared today. And if you did, make sure you hit the like button. If you think that there is somebody who you know in your life that can benefit from hearing this information, make sure that you send them this video. And if you don't already, make sure that you go and you like my YouTube page so that you don't miss a conversation. Every conversation is uploaded to YouTube so that you guys can have all the videos in one spot and you don't have to go through my page searching. So I hope that you guys have an absolutely incredible Sunday. I think it's going to be a little bit warm outside. So, yeah, I think I'm going to just relax a little bit in the pool. I hope that you guys have a relaxing day too. For those of you who trade with us, the schedule has been changed. We will be meeting today, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I will see you guys on the call. If you don't know what that is and you want more information, send me a DM, or you can go to www.workingtowardfreedom.com and you can learn what it's all about. We are working toward freedom every single day, and a part of that is growing the mind. And that's where all of this stuff comes into. So you'll get a lot more of this and a lot more of opportunity on working toward freedom. So I hope to see you guys later, and have an incredible day. I love you to life. Peace.